to basically, excuse me, take students from different, different levels of language learning. You can come in different levels, and basically by the time you're done with the program, we want you to come out at an ILR level 3, which is equivalent to an ACTFL superior. So the focus on the language flagship is really pushing on languages. But while you're studying your language, you're working on culture and you're working on professional development in your field and doing a whole mishmash of things to make you really ready to become a global professional when you finish. So basically, the model of the flagship program is that students enroll in a flagship program at their home university. For those of you at University of Wisconsin-Madison, that would be the Russian program. You take language courses and you roll in the program at your domestic university. And once you reach an ILR level 2, which is typically after 3 or 4 years of study at your domestic university, you're then eligible to apply to go overseas to a flagship capstone program. The flagship capstone programs are anywhere between 9 and 12 months, depending on the language. And during the capstone program, we get you from a level 2 to a level 3, so from a advanced to superior. And the capstone programs are amazing. You're studying in country. You are doing professional internships. You are doing courses in your domain. You're doing intensive language, and you're having all of these cultural experiences. Many students live in homestays, so you're really experiencing the country and the place while you're getting to the level you need to be to really be able to operate at that professional level when you're finished with the program. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of all the programs that exist, the domestic flagship programs. We might have to scroll down. I think my slide is too big, but we have, or maybe not. So sorry about that, guys. So we have, again, Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Persian, Portuguese, and Russian all over the country. Next slide. So the domestic flagship program.
Is this the correct slide?
Yes, it looks fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the domestic flagship program. So while you're studying in the first component, you're studying the domestic flagship program, which is at your university. So what makes the domestic flagship program different than other language courses that you take? Basically, we have an outcomes-based curriculum with regular assessments directed towards ensuring you meet proficiency targets. To break that down, that means that we have a curriculum that our language leaders, we work with top leaders in the field, have designed and developed that is aimed to get you to where you need to be. So if you need to be at a level 2 by the time you go overseas, you'll be working on a curriculum or in a curriculum that's been designed to get you there, and you'll be regularly tested, proficiency tested, to make sure you are on track and receiving feedback on what you need to do to be better so that you can qualify for the overseas experience. You're gonna have content-based coursework. So this means that you're not only gonna have language courses, but you're gonna have language courses that are content driven. So by the time you get to the upper levels, you might be taking a history course in your target language or a course on society in your target language. So you'll get to the level where you're gonna be learning content in the target language. You have interventions such as weekly individual tutoring and group practice. So all flagship programs, have some sort of tutoring model. Some do group, some do individual, some do a mix. So you'll get these extra, basically extra interventions and this extra care to make sure you're getting to where you need to go. And there's cultural and social events provided by the program throughout the entire time. So you get a wonderful sense of community with your fellow classmates and people who are also interested in the region in which you're studying. Next slide, please. So when you're done with your domestic capstone, the next step in the program is to go overseas. But to qualify to go overseas, you need to make, here's the minimum selection criteria. You need an ILR level 2 in speaking through an oral proficiency initiative, which is equivalent to an ACTFL advanced, an ILR level 2 or an ACTFL advanced proficiency in reading or listening, and no less than an ILR 1+, which is an intermediate high in reading, listening, or writing. Preparation also includes courses that were integrated throughout your domestic experience on culture, history, political discourse, media, and different aspects in your own major field of study that you've completed a certain amount and are at a certain place. Next slide, please. So here are our Capstone flagship programs. Again, we have programs all over the world. Our programs right now in Arabic are in Morocco at the Arab American Language Institute in Morocco, or ALIM, in partnership with the University of Moulay Ismail in Meknes, Morocco. For Chinese, we currently have 3 programs. We have a Nanjing University in Nanjing, China, National Yangming University in Taipei, Taiwan, and then we have a domestic capstone program at the Defense Language Institute Foreign Language Center, or DLI, in partnership with the Monterey Institute for International Studies in Monterey, California. And the Chinese program, the last of the 3 at DLI, is actually really targeted to students who basically really know they want to work in government coming out of this. To qualify for that program, you have to be a Boren scholar or fellow. I think some of you have heard about Boren, in this panel or previously. But with Boren, basically, it's another program run out of our office. Boren covers the funding for the program completely, but you get what's called a service opportunity by being a Boren, which means that you get the opportunity to work for a year in government after you're done with your program. Our Korean program is at Korea University in Seoul, South Korea. Persian is the University of Maryland, College Park. This program is also a domestic capstone because it's very challenging to go to Iran. We currently are not operating in Iran. And then Portuguese, we have our Portuguese program at the Federal University of São João del Rei in Minas Gerais, Brazil. Next slide, please. Oh, and we have, I just noticed the Russian program. I didn't even talk about that one. The Russian program is in Kazakhstan, and it's really great. So here, the capstone model. So what do you do when you're in capstone? That's different than other study abroad. First of all, we really focus on longer forms of study. So our capstone programs are from 9 months to 12 months long. And they include intensive language instruction, again, designed to meet our goals. So again, our goal is to get you out at a professional level. So we create curriculum in the capstone programs that will take you from the advanced to the professional. So they're really targeted, very intensive, and they will, again, be doing a lot of testing and assessment with feedback to ensure you're where you need to be in your progression. You'll have immersive living environments, including homestays. Not all programs have some homestays. Some have homestays. Some have roommates where you're living with a fellow student or a few fellow students in an apartment or a different college kind of accommodations. But you'll always be living with host country speakers to be learning culture and learning how things are outside of the classroom. Direct enrollment in your host university, which means you get to take coursework in your major at the university we partner with overseas in the target language / with students who are also interested in whatever you're taking. So if you are a biology major and you are taking Chinese, for example, and you are in Nanjing, China, you'll be able to take biology classes at Nanjing University with other students Chinese students who are interested in biology as part of your coursework. You'll have professionally relevant internships. And I think this is one of, the more, I wouldn't say the more exciting, but really one of the more special things we do is that we do arrange professional relevant internships for all our students, where when you are interning anywhere from 3 days a week to full time, depending on the program, in an intensive professional internship where you're using your target language, using your skills. Your internships are found based upon your interests. So again, we'll use the biology major as an example. If you're a biology major and interested in working in a lab, our overseas programs will work to try to get you a placement with a lab in, we were using the Chinese example, in China. So you'll be able to work with colleagues and network that way and really get that professional experience. We have co-curricular events such as travel, speakers, and events to foster community building. The travel is usually different excursions for different cultural knowledge into depths and deepen your understanding of the culture of the country, as well as its geography, its history, and just the place you're in. And then, of course, regular assessments, as I mentioned before, to ensure you are on track for success. Next slide. Actually, okay, so flagship standard certification standard. So the other thing we do promise students is by the time you're completely done with the program, we want you to be at an ILR level 3, which is the advanced in speaking, and then hopefully, at minimum an ILR level 2 plus, or sorry, ILR level 3 was just superior, and ILR level 2 plus, which is high advanced ILR in reading and listening. ideally, we want our students to be a superior in all modalities. And we do provide certification at the end of the program. So for those who receive the 333, they get a certification with distinction, which is something you can put on your resume. You will also have a certificate verifying that you've received this, and a certification of completion for students who make the base level passing, which is a 3, 2+, 2+. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you finance this. So I know that's important to many of you. So Flagship, we also give student support. So each university that we work with receives a certain amount of scholarships that they're able to give to students to help support this. So the maximum Flagship student support is capped at 20,000. So that means you can get a max of 20,000 throughout your academic career participating in Flagship to study abroad. You can get a max of 15,000 for your overseas capstone year. And then you can, depending on what you need, you can use certain amounts for study abroad in the summer, or intensive study abroad in the summer, or intensive domestic study in the summer. So we do provide support. The support does not cover everything that you need, but it is a nice amount to help really offset those costs and make it feasible for you to participate in this program. Additional support from my office, DLNSEO, comes with federal service. So we encourage all of our students to pursue the Boren scholarships or participate in ROTC for those who are interested in ROTC. If a student receives a Boren scholarship and applies it to the Flagship program, they basically are able to cover the entire cost of the program between what's provided by Boren and then what's provided by Flagship. Individual Flagship programs, for example, at University of Wisconsin-Madison, or if you're at another university and interested in pursuing this, may have additional scholarship opportunities. So please definitely talk to them. And a core component to this is we understand that we want students to be able to participate in the full program, and all programs advise students and help them plan financially to be able to complete the program, and alert students of different opportunities that exist and different scholarships and different pathways to be able to pay for this. Next slide, please. Okay, so for those of you who may not be committed to 5 years of study of Russian, which is what we have at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, we also have another program called the Regional Flagship Languages Initiative. The Regional Flagship Languages Initiative is a bit different from the Flagship model, but is basically a more condensed version of the Flagship model in some ways. So the whole purpose of the Regional Flagship Languages Initiative is to provide a pipeline of individuals for national security positions that are competent in languages and cultures and areas that are not commonly taught studied in the United States. For our Regional Flagship Languages Initiative, we really focus on languages that are really less commonly taught. So we focus on African languages, and we include Akan, Twi, French, but French based in Africa, not in France, Swahili and Zulu, Indonesian and South Asian languages, Hindi and Urdu, and Turkish. So our model with the Regional Flagship Languages Initiative is a bit different from Flagship. First of all our students are Boren scholars or fellows and must apply and be awarded a Boren scholarship or fellowship prior to be participating in the program. Participating students spend 8 weeks at an intensive summer domestic program. All of these, well, 3 of these, the Indonesian, South Asian, and Turkish Flagship Languages Initiatives are offered at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then they study abroad for 1 semester. Students also have the option to spend an additional semester abroad pursuing a professional internship. All students incur a 1-year service requirement or opportunity. Next slide. So the intensive summer programs, so the African Flagship Languages Initiatives are located at Florida University, and then we have the Indonesian, South Asian, and Turkish Flagship Languages Initiatives, the University of Wisconsin-Madison. As I mentioned, during the summer program, students spend 8 intensive weeks learning the language and culture of the region in which their target language is spoken. They also have cultural activities and different activities to help them understand culture, tutoring, immersive living environments, places to really get you going. Next slide, please. Okay, so I broke this down into 3 different pieces. For our African languages, our overseas programs, we have 5 languages with African languages that we focus on. The first is French, and students who choose to do that will study French at African Research Center in Dakar, Senegal. We have the Swahili in Tanzania at MSTCDC in Arusha, Tanzania. Akan Twi in Ghana at a program of the student's choice. So this is a little different in that students who are interested in Akan Twi, Wolof, or Zulu, instead of going to a set program that we want run, they will go to the domestic program, and then they will also have to apply for a program of their choice in country where they can apply their funding to go for a semester. Okay, and again, students participating in the overseas component of the athlete program for French and Swahili. These are programs we directly run, basically participating in the semester of intensive language classes, homestays, and cultural activities. Next slide, please. Our Indonesian flagship language initiatives, the overseas component is located at the located at the State University of Malang, Indonesia. Next slide, please. And for our SAFLI overseas, the South Asian languages, we do focus on 2 languages. We do Hindi at American Institute of Indian Studies in Jaipur, India, and Urdu at American Institute of Indian Studies in Lucknow, India. Next slide. For TERFLI, we work in Azerbaijan University of Languages in Baku, Azerbaijan. And again, in TERFLI, students will be studying Turkish. Next slide, please. So I'm not sure if those of you are familiar with BORN, but BORN and the Language Flagship Initiative. So how does this work? So all students participating in the Language Flagship Initiative must be a BORN Scholar or Fellow. Students must apply for the BORN Scholarship or Fellowship in the Flagship Languages Initiative program. So there's 2 applications if you're interested in this program. You apply for a BORN, and you do that through www.bornawards.org, where you can get more information on the program. And then you also apply for the Flagship Languages Initiatives. Basically, the BORN Scholarship or Fellowship is the funding that you would apply to the Language Flagship Initiatives. BORN Scholarships and Fellowships cover the cost of attendance of the program, and students incur a 1-year service requirement opportunity as a BORN Scholar or Fellow. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the Flagship Difference writ large. So when I say the Flagship Difference, I mean the Language Flagship program that I talked about, as well as the Flagship Languages Initiatives. So what makes these programs, again, different from other programs that are out there? First of all, we have an expectation of success, and we kind of set you up with all you need to succeed. If you take the program seriously and do the work that's involved, which can be a lot, it can be very challenging, but if you do that, you're going to succeed. And we set you up with all the tools you need as long as you basically capitalize on them. There's coordinated interventions inside and outside the classroom. So in the classroom, again, your curriculum set you up for success to get to higher proficiency levels, but also outside the classroom, there's tons of activities that are created to complement what you're learning inside the classroom and give you an extra boost. These outside activities are also fun because they tend to, involve community and more attention to culture, and kind of, really get you more knowledgeable about the place where you're studying or going to study. There's articulated learning between domestic and overseas components. So what does this mean? It means that the programs work together to make sure that there's a streamlined transition from the domestic to the overseas component. So our partners work together to make sure that these transitions happen well, and there's not going to be a huge amount of repetition, and that even though it's 2 components, it's 1 program. We provide rigorous assessment coupled to anticipate learned outcomes. So what does this mean? That we are going to test you regularly and know where you are and where you are on your journey and what you need to do to get on a journey. So you'll be tested quite a bit. And then after those tests, you'll be provided feedback on what you need to do and what you need to improve to get to your language learning goal. And of course, there's a heavy emphasis on understanding culture in the region where the target language is spoken. And again, this is, can be really fun. There's a lot of activities in this where you get to try different foods, try different instruments, have different lectures, watch movies, do different activities where you can really gain a better understanding of culture. Next slide, please. So career outlook. Our students go into many sorts of careers. By the time they're done with either the Language Flagship program or the Flagship Languages Initiatives program, they're really well poised to work in a wide range of industry. Not only do they have whatever major they've decided to do, they also have this, basically specialty and awareness of a certain region as well as the language which is spoken there. So of course, we see a lot of our students go into government, civil service, foreign service, intelligence agencies, and the military, into business, industry, and commerce. A lot of students are interested in, advertising, banking, engineering. I mean, a whole slew of things: international development, law, media, services, teaching, and travel and tourism. Basically, by doing one of these programs, it kind of gives you that added edge. So when you enter into the job market, you already have kind of, your interest in more of your domain training, but you also are able to communicate in another language and work with cross-cultural teams. And having that on your resume, even if you're not working in that region where you studied, is hugely beneficial to employers, especially those that work in the international arena. Okay, thank you. I'll be welcome any questions that you have at the end of the panel. Thanks.